So, good afternoon. This is our final session. They saved the best for last, obviously. Obviously. I do want to thank our partners, Brand Innovators. Thank you. We love you guys. We're always appreciative of giving us this opportunity. But I think we should give a round of applause for Rita for the whole day. Come on, let's bring it home. I was going to ask everyone to stand for a second. And then say thank you for the standing ovation, but let's not do that now. So I'm excited and thrilled to be with JP. He's a lovely person. I've known him for a while. We go back at least 12 months, right? It's insane.
Long, yeah.
12 months. 12 whole months. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to break it into 4 components. We're going to do rapid fire questions. Let's break the ice, right? Let's make it fun. Then we're going to do a little close and personal with JP. Let's get to know the authentic self of JP, right? Go a little bit deeper on that, about his past, his background, his vices, all that stuff. And then I would love to share, where's Connor? Right there. Here's my guy. Stand up for everyone. Here's guy. He's got the button. We have an amazing video. It's a new branding positioning for Popeyes. Super excited about it. It doesn't come out until June, so it's hot from the press. So you get to see a little preview of that. We're going to go a little bit deep into digital innovation, right? Yeah. Charlotte took all my questions. Super annoyed about that with that Gen Z panel. I know. So I'm going to come up creatively with some questions. And what's a panel without measurement, right? Come on, data. Who doesn't want that to end the day? A long session on data? No. But we'll wrap up with that. But on that front, let's go rapid questions. Should we do this? Okay, JP, break the ice. Okay, what have you been binge watching?
Full Swing.
Oh, Full Swing.
Yeah.
Ah, I like that. Everyone know that? Full Swing, yeah? That's good. It's like the Drive to Survive, but the golf version, right? Okay, what was your first job?
The dollar store.
Ooh, that's painful. Mine was McDonald's. It lasted a week. But anyway, excellent. First live band.
First what?
Live band. The first concert you went to.
Coldplay.
Coldplay. That's not bad, is it?
Not bad.
That's okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You stay cred with us. Okay, who's F1 fans in the room? Anyone? Yeah, all of us, right? Yeah, come on. Great week. Great week ahead of us, right? So I know for a fact that JP is
Ferrari.
Yes, a Ferrari fan.
Sorry.
No, that was
Wait,
good.
I need
That
the
was
question
good.
first.
So if you had a pick of a driver, one driver to win for Ferrari, any pick, which driver would it be? Max.
Pick any driver that I would want them to drive for.
Apart from Leclerc, we can't pick Leclerc. He's out.
No.
You can't pick Leclerc.
I'd probably pick Hamilton.
Hamilton, yeah. Who loves Hamilton? He's my favorite.
He would be my favorite if he was driving for Ferrari. So
I love that. Who knows? Okay, now let's go a little bit relevant. Popeyes. You've been there for how long?
almost 3 years.
3 years. Fantastic. What is your favorite menu item?
Spicy blackened chicken sandwich.
Oh, that's good. All right, come on. Seriously though, who's tried the spicy chicken sandwich here? It's phenomenal, right? If you haven't, you gotta try it. Seriously, I tried it a year ago, and I'm obsessed by it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Right?
That? I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to.
next time. Yeah, that's a session at 8. If you want to come back, no. So okay, so let's digress. Let's go a little bit close up and personal with JP. There's a reason behind this because I believe let's try and be our authentic self, right? Let's be who we are, right? So I'd love to hear a bit about your background, right? Yeah. You're a lovely person. I keep saying that, but why are you that lovely person? So let's talk about what was your upbringing like? Where were you born? What were your parents doing?
Yeah. So born here, so I'm native Miamian, but you don't get to see many of those my age. There's a lot more people, being born here. So, but born, raised here, lived in Venezuela for about 7 years, came back till I was about 26, moved to New York, then came back again with COVID. So here I am. So yeah, parents are from Venezuela,
right?
With a mix of Venezuelan and Italian grandparents.
Excellent. So food must be fun in your house.
Food is delicious.
Yeah, what a collision, right?
I know.
Of cuisines. Fantastic. And so was it 17 to 15 in Venezuela, right?
No, 7 to 15.
Oh, 7 to 15. I apologize. Yeah. What was that like? Was that pretty interesting?
It was amazing. Incredible country. I think it's harder to go there now. Just, political environment is not favorable. But just South America in general is a fantastic place to go visit, to eat, to learn from, and anywhere in the continent is just great to go visit.
So you did share the story with me, and if you're open to share this, I love this story about your dad when he decided to come over. And go ahead.
Yeah. So my dad went to school in Louisiana, went to college in Louisiana, and growing up, he would always mention this great place that he had chicken, and he bought chicken from in Louisiana. And I was like, well, what's the name? It's Popeyes. And I didn't pay much attention to the restaurant. It was also, it's harder to find in Miami. It's getting a lot easier. But the first time we passed by one, he was like, "That's the restaurant. We have to go try it." And for some reason, we never ended up going until this opportunity came up. And I told him, guess where I'm going to go work now? And it was Popeyes. So
I love that.
And of course, I tried it at that point, and never looked back.
I love that. There is a great app to find places like that.
Yes, I've heard.
I won't say that though. So 12 years of a plus experience in media. You worked for a variety of companies,
Yep.
McDonald's, you've worked for PepsiCo, HP, and JetBlue, right?
Yeah.
Representing all those companies.
Yeah.
And then Forward Wine 2020 comes around. What do? You decided to jump into, is it the dark side or not the client side?
The client side. I
Yeah.
don't think there's a dark side.
No,
to this.
that's in sales, so I'm mixing sales there.
So when Arif says I worked for all these companies, I worked as on the agency side for all of them, right? So it started with McDonald's, then PepsiCo, then HP, then or Activision, then HP. JetBlue was my last one, and then touched a couple of other brands, but briefly and pretty small ones. But those were the big ones, and so. During COVID, this opportunity came up to lead the media practice for Popeyes in North America, U.S. and Canada, and so I jumped into the opportunity. I think I think coming from the agency, there's a ton of things that you get to see in a different perspective, and you have a better way of working, not just with partners / vendors, however you want to call them, but also with the agency itself. And so that's given us a big opportunity to do things with our agency partners that that otherwise would have been slower to do or not possible. So it's been really helpful.
So I mean, from the agency to clients, is that a hard transition? Like, was that a hard transition, or was it?
It's a huge transition in mindset. Like
Yeah.
you have to go from you have to recognize that there's an agency now in the middle that has a role and a responsibility, and they're your filter, they're the ones, but there's also a different way of working with the agency where I see them more as an extension of my department, an extension. They're partners, right? They're colleagues in my view. But you have to. There's a switch in that mindset, and it wasn't easy. I'd say it took a couple of months to really start to say, well, no, the agency has to talk with partners, and I should reach out to my agency for a POV and a recommendation. So that shift took a minute, but yeah, I think it was.
But all the negotiation strategy tactics, I think. Does that
right? That's what I'm saying. It made my job easier because I knew, it went from having them explain things to really having just a very fluid conversation of, partners and strategy and tactics and media in general.
Right.
So it made it easier.
The JP has a huge depth in measurement, performance, strategy, right? Bringing that over from the agency side into the client side. Typically, when I talk to folks within RBI as well, from the BK folks and so forth, one thing that surprises me, and this may not be the case, but is just the size of team that you have on the client side, right? People think, oh, BK, you've got an army of folks, right? How big is your team?
So
if I may ask, is that a personal question?
My direct team is 3 people.
3?
And me. Yeah.
Wow.
For U.S. Canada, there's one more. That's internal, but then we have a pretty big team on the agency side, and that's why I'm saying I see them, very much as an extension of my team. And of course that's media, right? Media is 3 people. Then we have a brand comms team, we have a PR team. So it's all a massive collaborative engine that plus the agency partners that get us to do the things that we do.
Right. It still does surprise me a tad. I mean, it's still small, right? I mean, 3 folks running a multi-million-dollar business, and I know you have the agency, but that's a pretty nimble team. So interesting when you started, right? Because it was 2020, COVID um, was happening, and then there was also something more exciting. Not, that sounds terrible. Something a little bit more different in terms of strategy, which was the chicken wars, right?
Yeah.
And you got it not at the beginning, but almost as it was ramping. Could you share that story? Because I mean, the chicken wars started with Popeyes. If everyone doesn't know, this was an amazing story, right? You know, Chick-fil-A was doing chicken. Everyone was doing chicken. All of a sudden, Popeye comes up with this amazing sandwich, which I will recommend you try tonight. You know, after our drinking and all that fun stuff, it's 2 o'clock in the morning sandwich, spot on. But like, definitely, really just woke up the taste buds. But that was an amazing story. Could you share that story? Because that was when
Yeah.
you started.
Yeah. So we launched Chicken Sandwich in I think it was August of 2019. We ran out, relaunched in November, and so after that, it was really kind of a shift in the QSR space, right, where Chicken Sandwich became just the rave, and after like shortly after that, I joined in September of 2020, right? So it was almost a year after Chicken Sandwich. But what was really incredible was to see the impact that that product had in the industry as a whole. If you noticed, one each, if you were to look back, one each brand in the QSR space launched Chicken Sandwich, it literally came after us. So after us, except Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A had their chicken sandwich. But you look at the competitor space, and every brand was launching a product to compete with our sandwich. And so what was great to see is the brand sort of raise the bar in terms of what our product or what a chicken sandwich is supposed to taste like, look like, um, and it became a really interesting space to just compete in. So we were again competing directly with brands that didn't see chicken sandwiches as their core space,
Right.
and they were just all jumping in. Some succeeded, others didn't, but it just shifted
It's
the
amazing. It
landscape.
went viral, right? I mean, it just went crazy,
It
right?
it did. It
What
just
was
picked.
driving that? Was that just the
It was
taste or the
there was a tweet that went out
right?
in September, August, September of 2019, and it just went viral, and it just got people to really want to go in and try the product. And when they tried it, the reason it went viral is because it was just an amazing product for for a QSR.
Right.
It's just an amazing product overall. So it just blew up.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun videos to watch online on that phenomenal. But so like forward wine, let's get current to today, right? So thank you for your background. You've got an amazing background. I love your past. I love your sort of history and just all of the bits that make who you are. If you think about RBI is a parent company, obviously, right? We have Burger King, which is a 69-year-old product. Amazing. You have Tim Horton, which is the coffee Canadian place, right? That's roughly about 58 years. I'm looking at my notes because I forgot. And then Firehouse Subs is 29 years. You're turning 51.
Yeah.
Young,
Yeah.
right?
Not me. The brand.
No, the brand. The brand. That's right. The brand. So they've started this. They've come out with this amazing new campaign.
Yeah.
And the theme is we don't make sense, we make chicken. Okay? What was that? Got veto approval. Perfect. So before, I definitely want to have JP tell us about it, but before you do this, I have a question for the audience. Because I think this is really important. You guys need to like work a little bit for your dinner. So just show of hands, and JP will give you a lifetime supply of Popeyes if you get it right. I'm just kidding. A day. Yeah. A sandwich. Yeah, one sandwich. I'll buy the sandwich. Maybe two. How many hours does it take for Popeyes to marinate their chicken before they serve it? How many hours? I got 48. I got 10. Who's the guy? What's your stand up, sir? What's your name? From what company? Popeyes. Good, there you go. Yes. You get that spicy chicken tonight. Come by my hotel at 3 in the morning, and you'll get it. No, correct. 12 hours. 12 hours. Fast food restaurant. Just think about that collision, right? Fast food restaurant. 12 hours marination, hand breaded, and then it goes out, right?
That's right.
So correct. Good job on that. So should we show the video or talk about the video? All right, let's show the video. So Connor, it's all you. Get it loud. Love it. Very good. So yeah, talk us through that. I love that, by the way. I
Yeah,
love
I
that
think,
ad.
you know, uh, listen, our brand team would do a much better job of explaining everything that went into this. But if you think about the key takeaway of this message is that, there's so much that goes into our food preparation that is really not, is not associated with a QSR, right? And so, to his point, I think we marinate chicken literally for 12 hours in the restaurant before it's hand battered, breaded, and fried and served. So we wanted to really kind of elevate those RTBs to everyone out there, and it came through in this new positioning. So, and we really do believe it. If you look at other brands out there that participate in the QSR space, it's really a quick serve and it's a quick preparation. That's not necessarily the case when it comes to Popeyes, and so this gives us the opportunity to highlight that and show it to the world, and it's probably what's going to be guiding our communications for the near future. So that's it.
Yeah, no, I particularly like this. I mean, I think it's very authentic, New Orleans, right? Being different, being straight up, right? Talk about the differences. What was it? They built the city below sea level.
Yeah.
Why, who does that,
There's
right?
a lot. There's a lot in everything that that she says in the video that it just doesn't make sense. Just like
Yeah.
the chicken, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not being paid for this, but try the chicken. It's good if you haven't tried it. So shifting gears. Thank you for that. That's
Yeah.
super cool. Shifting gears. I don't like Charlotte. She asked all my questions at the Gen Z panel. So just silent for 5 minutes, and then we'll go into the next section.
We can still cover some.
Yeah, we could totally do it. So COVID happened when you
Yeah.
joined, right? Behaviors definitely changed in terms of, we saw that at Yelp, certain things happen. We did attributes. We saw, just things shifted in a different way that became permanent.
Yep.
And we're like, wow, that stuff is stuck. From your perspective, because you were early days into it, like, did you experience that from a Popeye perspective, or the things that resonated well that you're continuing going forward because of those behavior changes?
Yeah, and I think that's not exclusive to Popeyes. I think just across the industry, me as a not just as a marketer, but as a consumer, it just completely shifted how we think about consumption of any product wherever we go, right? So, I don't know exactly what was a shift in terms of people that moved entirely to online ordering, but what I can say is that it was a continuation of what Gen Z and younger millennials were already used to doing, which was digital commerce. But what was most interesting is that it got those that were not used to that behavior comfortable with it, right? And so that means that restaurants, stores, retailers in general can shift away from having all entirely either people eat in a restaurant or have to order through the drive-through to even to feel comfortable ordering online, ordering ahead, going into the restaurant or into the store, picking up whatever it is you purchase and heading out, right? Whether it's through the drive-through or in-store pickup. So that shift, I mean, completely changed the way in which we think about retail in general, right?
Right.
You probably no longer need, a place that sits 50 people, 100 people. You probably need a place that sits 20, right? That reduces your square footage. It reduces your operational costs, and it opens up different lines of revenue. Tons of restaurants out there, not just Popeyes, every restaurant out there. Look at how many restaurants are putting in 2 drive-through lanes instead of 1, right? Look at what restaurants out there have been testing. Some have been opening up more drive-through lanes, and finding ways to have just a kitchen sort of deliver that order to 3 or 4 or 5 different car lanes.
Right.
So it really fundamentally shifted how we think about restaurants, how we think about retail in general. And I think that's here to stay. Of course, there is sort of a comeback of in restaurant dining across the board. There's a comeback of people being comfortable with stepping into stores or into restaurants and doing whatever it is they need to do. But that shift, we're not going back to pre-COVID levels. That's guaranteed.
broke the cord, right? It just kind of broke the cap because
Yeah.
we were doing it anyway, just
Yeah.
amplified it, right?
Yeah.
And made it more convenient and became part of the behavior, which we saw across the board.
Yeah.
It was amazing, but also good for business,
Uh,
right?
Yeah, I think overall, what you'll see is that because you have less operational expenses, you can shift to other channels
Yeah.
that can and can be more profitable.
Yeah. So, do you want to ask the next question to the audience?
Which one?
I know, let's not show them. No.
Oh yeah.
Ask that.
Yes.
I got to work.
Well, I mentioned it previously, but yeah, I don't want to get in the way of dinner. So
Okay, all right. Do you want me to
no,
ask it?
but I'll ask.
Okay, good.
I think you all remember, for those of you who were part of Brand Innovators events last year, you all remember what the buzzword was, right? So, anyone?
Okay, that was one.
Which one?
Definitely. Authenticity.
Authentic.
Yes, that was definitely one. AI, yes. And there was something else?
Yes. Yes.
Metaverse, right?
Metaverse was it,
Yes.
yeah.
So we were, I mean, obviously last year everyone had to bring and be a part of that. You had to integrate that in your strategy. There was this rush, right? I mean, come on, there was a rush. And I'm a big AR, VR person, especially AR. That was my thing years ago. I love it or whatever, but it's timing and
Yeah.
we were talking about that theme of like this year being, to your point, very well
AI.
keyed up, AI, right? So, just to give an example, I think McDonald's actually did the first automated restaurant where you could go in, there was nobody there, the food was being made, you could take your order, right? There's no one in the house, and it's all automated, and it was all done through AI and all the other components. So, going back to JP, like, we've talked a lot about AI in the last session, right? That's a hot spot. Is it, you saw with chat GPT,
Yeah.
right? Things aren't hovering, and I think to a certain degree, there's this pixel dust of how to make your stock look good. Mention AI, right? Kind of moments. But I'd love to get your POV on it.
Yeah. So I think last year when I was asked the same question, like, what do you think about metaverse, and how do you think brands will be participating in metaverse? And I said, my response, to recap what it was, is I don't think no one has figured out what it's going to be, and because it doesn't necessarily enhance existing behavior, it's really difficult to predict what exactly is it, how exactly is it going to help us or become a part of our lives. That was my response to metaverse. Looks like I was pretty on point with that. I think we still haven't figured out how does that make my life, my job, my everyday things better or easier to do. I'm much more bullish on AR than I am with VR, to be quite honest. Professionally, VR may be something. There's big opportunities, but for overall life, day-to-day life, AR has a much bigger potential, but we're not there yet. AI, on the other hand, like we're using, I'm shocked at the amount of content that content creators are putting out there on how to use AI to improve your brand, your marketing, your emails, your everything. In fact, for those of you following, there was a recent stock that just like plummeted because they were impacted by AI. And so that I think I'm really bullish on, because again, it enhances things that we're already doing. It's making our lives, could make our lives easier. The time it took you to write up an email can go from 30 minutes to 30 seconds. The time it took you to put the prompt in the box, right? So, I think that's going to be a really interesting area that will impact every single area or every single aspect of our lives. I don't know yet how it's going to impact a brand like Popeyes, right, or BK, or I don't know. I don't know how it's going to impact marketing. I know copywriters are scared. No, well, or either loving it or scared,
Yeah.
right? Designers are, curious about what is it going to do for their jobs, right?
Accountants are worried.
So it's permeating into every single aspect of our lives,
Yeah.
business and personal. So I'm really bullish, interested, and curious about what that's going to do. I think we've barely seen,
Yeah.
and I'm already overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that's being put out there, but we've barely seen what AI is going to do
Yeah.
for us.
I think
That too.
or not maybe, I don't know. I'm not a marketer by no means. I mean, I'm just a Johnny Reef, but I mean, like, I think there's just don't jump in 2 feet in, right? Just
Yeah.
be curious, right? Like we all are,
Yeah.
and I think that's important. One thing that stands out for me, and I'm a bit partial to augmented reality with AR, but the combination of AI and AR is
Yeah.
very interesting. Like
Yeah.
taking 2D photographs and making them come alive, so you can look at Google Maps,
Yeah.
Apple Maps, and see things in a different way. Those are interesting concepts,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
enhance the experience. But
100%. I think, if I were to put my vision hat on, I think AI plus AR has a massive potential to impact uh, channels like, think of it as a combination of programmatic and out of home.
yeah. So why don't we start a little business together? So no, this is good. So how are we for time? We're good, right? We've got another. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So I wanted to just touch a little bit on data. I mean, we have to kind of talk a little bit about the future of data. And I had 1,000 questions, but I'm going to narrow it down to a very simple question to you. I mean, simply said, I mean, we know what's going on. There's cookie deprecation happening in the industry, right? All the first click stuff is going away. We have the cookie no more. Oh no, what's going to happen? But it's gone, right? And we got a plan for that, right? So think 2025. So my question is how is measurement being defined today for you? And where is that going to be? How are you going to define that by 2025? Like, from your perspective, because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But one has to.
Yeah. Back in 2021, I was losing sleep over this cookie deprecation, and then in 2022, I found out that was a waste, and then in 2023, I found out again that was a waste. So I stopped losing sleep over cookie deprecation. And so I think what we've started to do is focus less on what the deadline is and start to work really closely with our agency, our measurement partners, our our media partners in general, to start testing different ways of measurement. I think with that imminent deprecation happening, what we did was we started working with, not surprisingly so, right? We started implementing media mix model, right? And that's media mix model. I mean, we're probably late to the game, but
I don't think you are. I mean, we're all familiar with MMM, right? If anyone, I mean, back in the day, go back to the 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, it was about TV, radio, measuring that. That was like the old way, and now it's resurfacing, right? So it's not a. Thank you so much. Oh, you rock.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. Let me.
So yeah, it's becoming more relevant today with new ways in which you can input data, because without the cookie, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And so you're going a little bit deeper into MMM now?
Yeah, I think, listen, overall measurement is going to move away from the use of cookies and into modeling, right? That's especially as you start to see, if those of you following privacy laws, there are about I don't know if it's like 6 or 7 states coming up with new laws in a month and a half. I don't think it's going to stop there. I think we're going to start to see more states come up with new sorts of regulation on privacy and data. That's going to start to limit more and more the amount of data that you can use to measure. And so eventually you're just going to move away from, deterministic is just long gone, right? Everything you do has to be based on probability and modeling, and that's it. And so we have to start getting ahead of that, working with, again, different partners and trying to figure out, well, while we can still peek behind the curtain, try to test new partners for, for targeting.
Yeah.
So.
There's new technology that's coming out that's kind of getting ahead of the regulation, which is AI. So AI is now measuring sort of like neuroreceptors, and that's one thing that wasn't really being tracked.
Right.
Now your smartwatch is going to tell you what triggers your brain. So when you're hungry, like what things kind of make you think of having some chicken? So you have a whole new opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There will be new signals. Right now, it's always going to be a game of catch up, because what's going to happen is, well, are those signals PII or not? If it's determined to be PI, then well, there goes that, right? So you have to continuously innovate and work with new partners to figure out, well, what's the new signal that I can use that can make my probability even higher of finding or targeting the right person. So again, it's a never-ending game until one, there's federal regulation around this. I think whether we like it or not, it's probably at this point we know all states are going to probably do something similar. It would be easier if there was federal regulation on data privacy. Some partners may not like it because, well, then that chips away at how at their technology, but we're going to get there eventually.
And some of the basic stuff, like incrementality. Is someone coming into my place?
Yeah.
Am I driving traffic? All those components. Is that a very big criteria for you today in your preview? It's a big, right? Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting about QSR is that it has a direct and almost immediate impact, right? We have to eat at least 3 times a day, 7 days a week, 365, right? So what's great about that is that you can test and learn consistently, constantly, very quickly. It also tells us, or I think it also puts a lot of pressure, not just on the media team and the agency and the partners, to be able to prove fairly quickly whether or not that investment is working.
Right.
That kind of lost track of
No.
what I was saying.
But I think you're hitting the nail.
Yeah.
These are the factors that matter today. How they translate in the next 2 years, those have to be must-haves, right?
Yeah.
And MMM, to your point,
Yeah.
could be another input of that. We got a party going on in the back as well for us, which I love. But no, those are important factors. I want to open up to questions because we have to speak to this chap. He's a very smart lad. I look forward to seeing the next, where you're going to take your career in the next 12 years. This is the guy to watch for sure. So just to kind of wrap this up with one final question, like when you look forward, well, 2 questions actually, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Looking forward, what are you most excited about when you think about your category, like QSR in the next 12 months? What's like, wow, you know what, Arif, this is the stuff I love.
Yeah, I think my head's always going to gravitate towards the media side, right? Because that's how I can impact the business in general. As I said before, I'm really curious about what's going to happen with AI. Not just because it's the buzzword again, it's because I've never seen any technology advance as quickly as AI has advanced in 3 months. As we're just talking about ChatGPT 3 months ago, 4 months ago. One, it's ChatGPT 4. 1, 2, it's already been built into Bing and it's being tested. 3, Google launched Bard. And 4, the amount of tools that are already leveraging that technology, it's like apps. They're just coming up by the masses every day, right? And so how that has the potential to impact what we can do to test and learn, to connect with new audiences, talking about Gen Z, I think that's, and of course, let's see what happens in the AR, VR space, because yes, it was a big shiny topic last year, but that hasn't, and it's no longer the buzzword, that hasn't stopped companies from investing in this technology.
No.
I think, again, last year it was the big shiny word. All these companies are still working their butts off in their labs trying to come up with what's next. And I think that's definitely going to be the next wave of physical technology. Combine those two, and I think it's going to be a very, very powerful, innovative space that we're going to be working with as marketers, but also as consumers.
Excellent. No, I definitely agree. There's so much potential in that, and it's super exciting. And I wasn't, just for the audience it's new to for the first time we're hearing this, lean into it. It's really interesting. Don't shy away from this stuff. Be curious, because it won't take long before you start picking it up and you realize there are so many applications.
Yeah. Who has not tried ChatGPT? Okay.
Maybe who's tried it?
Everyone has tried it? Okay. I would encourage you to there are tons of podcasts out there. There's really interesting stuff about AI. There's really scary stuff about AI, right? I think there's a lot that we need to still figure out. But there was a couple of podcasts from the Times. what's it called? The Daily, where they talked about this. And I'd encourage you to go back and take a look at and listen to these. There's two. The first episode was really enthusiastic and happy about it. And then 2 days later, the guy was like, I had to come back because I freaked out about what I saw and what I read. So it's showing the limitations of AI, but that is more of a lesson for us and for the teams working on these technologies. I'm excited to see what are the next 3 months going to show us in AI.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great. So before I open up to questions, final question.
Yeah.
Or final prediction for this weekend. I know you're a Ferrari fan. Who's going to win? Which team? Which
So
driver?
I'm going to give you my logical answer first. Red Bull's going to win. Boo is right. What's that?
Back to Checo. That's a
Checo won the last one, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet on Max this time. My heart, of course, wants Ferrari to win.
yeah.
So and
Leclerc.
Leclerc, I think I like Carlos a little bit more than Charles, but I love them both.
No, that's
So,
that's a fair play. Appreciate that. One day Ferrari, definitely. I'm gunning for Ferrari. Who doesn't
Yeah.
love Ferrari? So with that, firstly, thank you, JP. It's an absolute pleasure
you.
being on stage with you. I'd love to open up to any final questions before we wrap up, Rita, if there's time. Or yeah, I mean,
They look hungry.
lovely people. Are you hungry? I know you want to drink and have fun, and you're waiting for that spicy chicken at my hotel at 3 a.m. that you won. But yeah, any final thoughts or questions for JP?
I'm telling you.
Oh, we have one. We have one.
Are there any plans for a vegetarian sandwich?
I have no idea.
That's a great question, though. That's a really good question. Excellent. Plant-based, anything
No
like
idea.
that. It's a
I
great
know
question.
PK has the Impossible Whopper, so you could try that.
Yeah, is that impossible? It's
Yeah.
good. It's really good.
good. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's really good. It's my favorite. Monsieur Hibler, I do believe, in the corner.
So talking about AI, the thing for me that seems in the QSR space, sort of one question is in the POS system, being able to look at last week's data, this week's data, more importantly, going at data locally, whether it's on Twitter, Snap, or the data talking about chicken sandwiches, talking about food, and how is that going on a POS system so you don't have food waste and wait for the inventory to be served.
Well, I mean, hard to. You're asking me if we see that, if that's something. To be honest, seeing what AI is capable of doing, I think AI has the potential to permeate into every aspect of any business. If we talk about a restaurant specifically, right? I could say, AI has a potential to, one, show you better ads because it knows you better at the right moment, in the right day, the right time, the right product. When you get to a restaurant, maybe your choices or your cravings have changed, right? So maybe when you get there and you're going to order through the phone or through the kiosk or through the drive-through, maybe it's showing you something different based on your preferences. Of course, that would need it to know that you are coming into the restaurant. But let's say your phone, right? Your phone could show you something that is more relevant to you at that moment. When you go to when you're at the counter, maybe it's the menu board showing you something different. Once you leave the restaurant or during the restaurant, to your point, right? Maybe it's showing the team at the restaurant, what type of products should they push more to eliminate. I mean, again, the potential is massive. It's infinite. What companies out there do with that technology, it's sky's the limit. Yeah.
Can I move away from the AI a little bit and go back to the chicken sandwich?
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a question about innovation. Like, I kept thinking here, it was just a chicken sandwich, right?
Yeah.
It was marinated.
Yeah.
The ingredients that we all know that we can hopefully buy at Whole Foods.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was it an orchestrated and planned success, or was it just another recipe that you guys put together and launched it, and then boom, was it their success? So what was the innovation secret to, because honestly, I haven't tried a second, but I
Yeah.
remember the lines in it, right?
Yeah.
And all that, so.
So it's very hard to, it's anyone who can tell me that they can orchestrate virality
Yeah.
is wrong.
So
So now, the lines is very difficult to plan for something like that, right? Unless, I literally blanketed the entire U.S. with media and got people to line, which we didn't, right? So what I can say went into into the product itself was lots of research, lots of market tests, lots of testing, lots of, de- very much. Every product that, and I can say that any company out there is not going to put out, develop a product overnight and throw it out there. There's a very long process to develop a product, and we did not skip or skip any steps to launch chicken
But
sandwich.
the research itself wasn't the differential, it was kind of random virality because of the flavor.
Yeah, it got picked up by media, it got picked up by users, and it drove people.
And then people were testing it, and TV shows were like,
And that's
it just became a,
Yeah.
an absolute, just you couldn't stop it, right? The media
Yeah.
just went really.
The AI topic, like how do you, all of the different elements they have to combine to cause that virality?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we had all the right elements there. What made a change was that, I don't know if it being the first real, and when I say really, have you tried it before? Okay, then I think what you
you
need
gotta
to do is
try it.
this. Get a friend, get a friend to buy 5 different chicken sandwiches, take the wrapper
In the
off.
morning.
Blame the flavor, was it really about the flavor, or was like PR and maybe an influencer that spoke about it and that trigger, like, was it?
The people's reactions were not fake, I could tell you that. The people's reactions were not fake. The people that reviewed the product were genuinely surprised, amazed, and delighted by the product itself.
My question was just like,
Yeah. No, listen,
there was kind of something that was off.
every other brand out there is asking the same question.
Sounds like it was a combination of everything.
Yeah.
And timing, right?
Yeah.
But the product had to stand for itself still.
Yeah.
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 I mean, me speaking outside, I'm not obviously.
Yeah. But yeah,
That's a good question.
And try it.
It's a great question. Right.
No. Well, who knows? I don't know. Maybe it can.
Well, I feel like the trends in tech come out of nowhere. I remember when the Minions movie came out, a lot of teens were dressing in formal wear and going to see the movie, and then it turned into like a box office hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, did they plan for that? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it was Minions.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you're right.
I remember. They were actually banning people from coming in dressed formal to the movie or whatever.
So is everyone ready to have drinks and dinner? Yeah? Okay, all right. Thank you, firstly. Thank you, JP. You're the man. Thank you. And thank you.